Ah, welcome back.
We are
Welcome
back
to
on the
Last Talk.
couch. We haven't been here in a while.
Yeah, I think we start. Didn't we? I think we started on the couch.
We started the year on the couch, and throughout the year, we decided it's better to not broadcast from the couch.
Exactly. We fully executed all these episodes, and now we're kind of returning to the couch because today is the day after the SAP Labs Munich Christmas party. So we
And
deserve a couch.
we deserve a couch, not so much for the Christmas party or for the day after the Christmas party, but to go
Yeah.
back from where we came from.
Yeah, and I think for that you need to be in a relaxed mood, actually.
Yes,
So,
and we're
yeah.
going to look back at what we achieved throughout the year, what we did, what Labs Talk has been. And I've been excited actually. It's much more than I remembered or that it felt like. I looked into the material that we collected. We did 20 episodes.
That's why I just wanted to ask you, actually, right? Because you did a little bit of analytics,
Mhm.
and I've just seen the amount of NFTs that we created and the episodes in the planning documents. I didn't really count them, but I was almost a bit
Yeah.
shocked because it was so much, to be honest with you.
Indeed, and I had the same feeling. It's quite, at least I felt overwhelmed by the sheer number results.
Yeah.
We did 20 episodes,
Wow.
and we had 37 guests in 2023.
That's a lot of emails to plan these things
That's a
out,
lot
by
of
the way.
email.
Yeah.
Big shout out to everybody that worked with us.
Thank you.
And when we broadcast those 20 episodes, on average, we had about 100 live viewers. I feel that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Thank you. Big thank you to everybody on the show. If you're watching, leave us a comment or a
There
thumbs
was
up.
one NFT drop moment that I have to share when we've claimed all NFTs. Actually, I think it was the show with Aria and Utsavi about the CX digital assistant. That's the name that we still had then. Now it's called the CX AI toolkit, I believe. So yeah, but we got all the NFTs delivered. So that made me proud. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
Anyway.
And only to round that off before we go into all the episodes and do a quick review of everything we had. For the recordings, we achieved almost 50,000 viewers, and I think that's really awesome.
That's crazy.
Yeah, in one
Crazy.
year, I think that's
you
crazy.
actually, right? So thank you all. Thanks for
Thank
watching
you,
us.
everybody. We prepared this slide. It's a bit behind the view,
Yeah.
behind the scenes type of view. This is how we are working, and moments from throughout the year. Big thank
So
you.
that's our lovely camera in the center here, right? That we're just looking into. What else do we see? It's your home setup, my home setup
With a proper microphone.
Sometimes this room here where we are right now was so full that we actually had to go into another room because it was just so loud, and it also feels awkward if you're sitting among 20 people and you do a live stream, even if you would not.
Whereas we're still planning to do a live show at some point with a proper audience.
Exactly.
Like
yeah,
not,
but then
not
it's
over the
planned, right?
internet.
I mean,
Yes,
just
that's different.
I took some drugs for that then. And what was the keyboard stuff below here actually, right? So, oh yeah, that was the keyboard event where we just both did go for inspiration, basically, right?
That does not really belong here.
Those
but
are my
it
keyboards, by the
was
way.
such a big topic for the entire year.
Yes.
Custom built keyboards. We discussed that a lot.
And we went to other shows, right? For example, there's this famous podcast La Generación, which we're both a fan of.
That's where we pull a lot of inspiration from. Those guys are the professional broadcasters and professionally prepared.
Yeah.
And we went to see them live.
Very cool. So let's take some of these learnings into 2024. I think we will not talk too much about 2024, but we're still ironing out the planning and which focus topics we're going to have and which interview partners. But we'll definitely continue. That's clear.
Let's maybe spend a minute at the end of the recap. Let's go through what we did.
Yeah, let's not lose time actually. Okay. So let me go to the next slide, and we have our first show here.
Yeah.
We started with a community talk. So what was the idea of community talks?
So when we started 2023, we reshaped that linear episode concept, and we tried to have some change in format in between. So we had that idea to do a proper interview and alternate that with a more or less open stage, and we would call
Yeah.
that a community show where we would bring in, say, friends and family, people that we worked with in the past year in 2022, or where we would just touch a topic and just have a little bit of chit chat
Yeah.
on some
Yeah.
random thing. And
Did
that
we
was the
achieve that
idea.
goal? So, you know, what I remember actually is that the normal interview episodes, they were
Mhm.
quite easy to plan because you had like one or two guests.
Yeah.
But like take the show here, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We had 7 guests here, okay?
We didn't sustain the pace, and quite honestly, I don't think
Yeah.
we filled that format with the idea that we initially had.
I had the hope that the community calls would somewhat be easier to organize,
Yeah.
but because there are typically so many people on these calls, it was actually way tougher.
And
And that's, by the way, I guess that's going to be one of the changes going forward.
Mhm.
We're going to take it a bit easier when it comes to these in-between shows, I believe.
And
Yeah.
looking back through the Excel sheets that I created, I felt like we were a lot more disciplined with that Labs Talk and community show in the first half of the year.
Yeah.
And we lost that discipline because it was just too much work, and it
But
didn't work out.
let's maybe quickly at least talk a bit what we've done here, right? So this was really the initial episode where we
Mhm.
set the scene for 2023. And I mean, Markus Krug, head of innovation, right? Jennifer Tillman from customer engagement here in SAP Labs Munich. Ole Höber, Matthias Brendel, Victoria Huber, Martin Batzauner, Lucy Alexander. We had so
Yep.
many really interesting guests that
So
did shape the year to come, actually.
one learning from that one actually, and maybe an idea we
Yeah.
need to discuss going forward, we need to consider doing something like transcripts or so, because I had a hard time recapping what we did for that show with so many guests. Big shout out to all of you. Uh, but for that particular episode, I struggled to actually
Yeah.
recap anything. I couldn't tell you. We had a lot of predictions. We talked about what's coming.
I mean, I still
Nothing
remember that Gen
specific.
AI, of course, even at that point, Gen AI was like
Absolutely.
the topic, right? Everybody agreed that it would soon become mainstream, and I guess it did,
Yeah.
right? So
And we had just the next episode we did on Gen AI.
yeah, let's go there. Boom. No, not always boom.
No boom.
No boom. Sorry.
No, wait, there's one in
Oh,
between.
I think
How
you've
could
been
I
wrong,
forget
right?
that?
So
I've
yeah.
been wrong. It's not the next one.
We first talked to Benjamin Benny Blau, and at that time he was the COO of customer experience at SAP.
Mhm.
And well, I remember that show actually. So it was kind of nice to talk about his role and what he's doing in his day-to-day job,
Yeah,
basically, and
so do I.
how in his operations role he's able to shape strategy, actually.
And indeed, it was a eye-opening conversation we had. At least for me, I felt like I could get a look behind the scenes of the entire organization that we work in, and how operations and Benny and his organization back then
Yeah.
set the scene for the entire organization, for the environment that we operate in, and to give the opportunity to us to
Yeah.
be innovative in first place.
Yeah, it's very cool. I'm gonna be on Swift with him on Christmas, by the way. So we have a Alp to Swift. It's like a indoor virtual cycling app, and I think the plan is to ride up the 1,200 meters, so we can kind of burn some fat through the Christmas
All
season. Actually. So,
virtual.
exactly. Very
Awesome.
cool. Together with Toby. Yeah. Anyway, so then we had a
Alright.
community call, and that was the first time we were in touch with Daniel Dahlmeier, actually, right? And Anish was also here, which is our quantum expert, and Daniel Dahlmeier is, of course, our AI expert from Singapore
Mhm.
that I had the pleasure to meet actually in August, I believe. Yeah.
I remember that
Yeah.
one. You sent pictures. In that episode, we first tried to work through that Gen AI hype more formally with the help of Daniel. That was literally the idea of that call.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is it? How does it work? Why is it so important out of a sudden? By that time, we broadcast that in February past year, whereas that entire OpenAI and ChatGPT thing started in November. So by that time, it was fairly fresh,
Mhm.
and we tried to have some professional advice from Daniel
Mhm.
there. And the other
And it's
half,
quite interesting, right? So
Mhm.
Gen AI was one topic of two in this community call.
Mhm.
Okay, so I think at that time it was not 100% clear that it would kind of be such a big hype and such a big I would
Well,
say revelation
it
during the year
well, it
2023.
it was a big hype by then. What I didn't feel like it would sustain
Yeah,
that
yeah,
long. It's like we're
it did.
sitting here nine
Yeah,
months later, and
it
we
did.
still there was a few more coming throughout the year, and it did sustain for, and it still does.
Yeah.
By that time, we felt like it's technology. It's been around for a while. The
Mhm.
hype will go away. The technology will
And then,
stay.
exactly, and because we've not been 100% sure, we
Mhm.
actually paired that with quantum computing, right? So we had
Yeah.
this very executable, touchable topic, Gen AI, and there was something to try out. There was ChatGPT, there were other models out there that you can try out, right? And just be amazed what it does. And then Anish is telling you about quantum computing and qubits and the state in between 0 and a 1.
Which I still didn't fully wrap my head around.
Yeah.
I did understand with the help of Anish and later on with Andre that things will happen instantly in a quantum computer
Hmm.
rather than one by one, and that's the way these qubits and this entire technology enables the way to compute. But still, maybe that's a topic we need to go into once again. I don't know how our audience feels about that. It's
Yeah,
like magic
I think
still.
quantum is probably also one of these trends or innovations. Once the time is right, it will just really take the world by storm. But it looks like right now it's not the time yet, but it could be tomorrow or next minute. Who knows, right? So don't be nervous. Don't be
Difficult. Don't
nervous.
listen to us.
Yeah. Anyway, I like that mural in the middle of the
Yeah,
the
that's an
Valve.
artifact.
Oh, wait a second. So, oh yeah, next we had Gero Decker, Dr. Gero Decker, whom we also met personally by now, right? He
Yes,
was
we did.
visiting Munich. He's the CEO of SAP Signavio.
We have lots of colleagues from Signavio here in Munich. Signavio is exciting technology they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's right now. It's actually one of the shiniest parts of SAP, I would say.
It is indeed, and
Indeed.
it is for a reason. I remember that episode in particular. It's another of those eye-opening moments. Having that conversation with Gero and understanding of what the technology actually does and what it enables, and that it's exciting for a reason.
Mhm. I remember we've just been discussing the whole topic of business transformation and also process automations or analytics of these processes in combination with generative AI, right?
Mhm.
And I think he made the claim that this will totally transform the way business transformation works,
Yeah.
basically, and business process optimization will run actually. So
They had a couple of good ideas in that particular realm. There's probably news coming out. We not here to steal their thunder.
yeah.
There's more coming from that area to have lots of impact.
Super cool. Okay, then of course, so far we're actually pretty good. I'm wondering if at some point we stop having this flip flop between interview community. But so far we've been doing good actually.
The suspense.
This honestly, I remember that episode and I'm kind of proud of it because talking about the Fediverse is an important topic for me somehow, for you too, I guess.
Yes, it is.
And there was also a Web3 update, right? So Web3 update, I guess, was with Scott, if I remember. Yeah,
Mhm,
exactly. And then we had a book author, Chris Minnick, in the show,
mhm,
and we talked about the Fediverse. So that's all
mhm.
the stuff, all that's not Twitter, basically.
Basically, and
Oh, and by the way, I think tomorrow is Thursday, and Threads will actually start in Europe
okay,
tomorrow. Yeah, on
I didn't pay
April
attention. I
14th, I
found
believe.
my
Yeah,
new home already
yeah, on Mastodon.
on Mastodon. I'm quite happy in that
Hmm.
space. So I've more or less fully migrated. Obviously, here we're still doing the LinkedIn thing, but other than
Yeah,
that, all my social activity is
on Mastodon.
on
Yeah,
Mastodon. Yeah.
and I tried to use Blue Sky, by the
Hmm.
way, but somehow Blue Sky has not picked up for me. But I know from other people that they totally like Blue Sky, for
Well,
example. It really depends where you have your bubble, actually.
well,
Yeah,
I
so
guess we're both from a technology background. I
yeah,
like the federated idea of it, to be able to run your own instance and to have control over information.
That's also the line that we drew in
Mhm.
that episode, because decentralization is roughly blockchain and Web3,
Mhm.
and we took that basically from the Web3 NFT space into the social media space, I believe, with Chris. Yeah, that was a cool show.
Mhm. Indeed.
Nice. So yeah, next interview episode was with Joanna from Recommerce, our very own
Wha-
team actually.
One of the things that I noticed when I went through the episodes is we sat together and spent a lot of thought of how we could bring those episodes in order and when do we invite whom,
Yeah.
so it makes sense in order. And I feel like that's another failure. We spent so much thought, and now we have Joanna with a super important topic in sustainability and circular economy, just following to Web3 and Fediverse, which is entirely
Mhm.
disconnected.
So you would have put that in a better order, basically. Or
I've like, having looked at the episodes in
Mhm.
the order in which we broadcast, I remember we spent so much time, like, if we do this and we invite that guest after the other guest, that would fit together. And
Mhm.
looking back at 2023, it just didn't work out.
Yeah. So you think there's no red line that becomes visible? So
Well,
yeah,
good news to that. We addressed that for next year
yeah,
already. We'll create a few
yeah. Well,
pockets.
we'll see if that works actually, right? Because I'm wondering if innovation, if you can plan roughly 3 months ahead,
Mhm.
or if crazy things will happen during these 3 months and will completely change the plan, because if you wouldn't do the next episode about quantum computing, you
Yeah,
would miss
yeah, and we
that
will
hype
want to talk
basically. Yeah,
about innovation
yeah.
once it happens. Absolutely.
Let's see.
Nevertheless, we had an awesome episode with Joanna. She's the founder. She started the SAP Recommerce product.
Mhm.
It got rebranded. I think it's SAP Recommerce branded these days. It's
Yeah,
out, right?
yeah, absolutely. It's
Mhm.
out. It's a product you can buy it, and it's essentially often bundled with Commerce Cloud, of course, by SAP,
Mhm.
and it allows you to return products and have them reused in the end.
Well, we
Yeah.
did not talk so much about the product with Joanna, but the way uh, s- the entire industry will
Mm,
change, and
mm,
what this circular economy actually means for brands, for suppliers, what those guys will have to do to adapt to that circularity and source from new sources that
yeah,
haven't existed before.
yeah. Very good topic. Very exciting topic too. Important too. Yeah. Boom. Then, yeah, a community call about it's slightly associated with sustainability. I mean,
Mhm,
it's sustainability, right? We talked to Sebastian Wagner, Tobias Wagner, Vincent Ohana. I remember that, yeah, about car sharing, for
mhm.
example. So this was really about energy and mobility transition. And we have our own, I believe, mobility solutions at
Mhm.
SAP, which we discussed to some degree.
Which
And then we talked a lot about
at,
photovoltaics, I
at
know.
that point we probably need to introduce or remember those three quickly. Where Sebastian Wagner is a colleague of ours, he's
Yeah.
working for SAP. Tobias Wagner is the founder of ChargeX. He's partnering with SAP, and Vincent is the CEO of Reply Concept, another SAP partner. They focus in mobility solutions, so
Yeah.
all experts in their field. But the important part here is we had outside partners talk to us
Mhm.
and give us an outside perspective.
It was a great show, actually. I remember, I think we also talked about the complexity of the energy grid and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I think Sebastian probably told us quite a bit about how his setup actually works at home. At least I remember that from a
Mhm.
pre-chat, hopefully also from the main episode. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And we learned about car sharing solutions and charging solutions.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Another well organized community
And,
call.
yeah, exactly. It was a very well organized community call
Mhm.
and high maintenance for a community call.
We
So
we're only in
the
April.
idea was to take it
Yeah,
easy with community calls.
we're only in April.
Yeah, that's April, exactly. Yeah, Caroline Gross from Smartster. I remember that actually, live and interactive video shopping. So we looked into Asia quite a bit in that episode, I believe, and how
Absolutely. Topic-wise, another disconnected type of thing. We went
yeah,
from sustainability to live shopping,
yeah,
which is more of an
it's a commerce trend.
consumer engagement type of
Yeah,
trend. Yeah.
commerce trend from Asia, right? And I think, to be honest with you, yeah, it's probably a big trend in Asia. I trust, I believe that,
Mhm.
but has it arrived in your daily life actually? So do you sit in front of Facebook and other TikTok and buy products, or
We're probably not that generation.
yeah,
Maybe
we
we should
might not be the
start
target group? Yeah, yeah,
selling our Labs Talk merchandise live on the show.
yeah.
Talk
But
about that.
it's a huge thing in Asia, right? So if some people actually watching us maybe from Asia, they would probably let us know and tell us that's correct. And yeah, maybe this is coming over, right? So I mean, TikTok was also not born in Europe or in US.
Well, again, I believe we're just not the generation. We would have to talk to Caroline once again. I think it arrived. I remember they're working with customers in Europe to make that. They had
Totally.
this creator studio, and that would integrate with SAP solutions for product catalogs. So it's a real thing. It's happening.
Absolutely. All right, then we had a chaotic community call from live from Sapphire with
Yeah,
my, at that point, boss Shadul. Well, he's still my boss, but one level higher now. He's now the CTO of SAP CX, right?
I think this is the episode from where that community call concept went south.
Yeah, I remember, yeah, Shadul trying to walk the floor basically.
The
He
idea
did, yeah,
was really good.
yeah,
I still like the idea. What we tried to do there is to have Shardul be our man on the ground, the
yeah,
live reporter from Sapphire. We scheduled it just after the keynote so we could
yeah.
share everything hot off the press with Shardul. That was the idea, to be
And I think there was
really,
also a little bit of a timing issue, I believe, with that keynote. Wasn't that the case? That we
yeah,
somehow missed the content, or the content wouldn't come, or because the keynote was at a different.
something like that came on top. Like the
Yeah,
keynote took a half an hour long.
yeah,
Something like that.
yeah.
We sat here and were nervous because we couldn't keep the slot, and we announced this on LinkedIn and
Well,
some like that.
I
Yeah.
mean, we at least achieved giving you a little bit of insight, basically directly from Sapphire
Hmm.
with Shadul. So you've been able to see the big halls basically and what was going on there.
Hmm.
Yeah, but
Indeed. I
we
mean,
missed the right slots, I believe. The timing could have been better.
yeah.
Um, could have been so easy. So,
Another learning, we need to prepare for live events
mhm.
if we want to broadcast from live events.
We needed a bigger focus, right? Bigger audio gear. Okay. Skipping the line with Scan and Go solutions. That was a pretty cool show. Again, commerce driven, I would
Hmm.
say, right? So it's all about grabbing items, quickly scanning them, leaving the checkout area without seeing a cashier. Yeah, we had Katharina Unger, David Gunster from Austria.
The company is called Shoprime,
Yeah,
and they're
it's one of the
building
SAP
this.
IO partners. Yeah.
It's an SAP IO partner. They were working as the SAP cohort, and they integrate again with a commerce solution. Now, the interesting takeaway for me here is, since I talked to Katarina and David, I see those scan and go solutions actually. It's
Mhm.
I'm aware now, and
Well, I found in the Waldorf Building 18 at SAP, there's
mhm,
actually a similar solution. It works in an Amazon Go way with all the
mhm,
cameras. And I tried that out. I think I had to deposit 30 euros to buy like €2.50 chocolate bar in the end.
mhm,
So I still got some budget left
mhm,
there. So I should visit again. And it was an interesting experience.
mhm.
And yeah, now I also opened my eyes for these solutions and I see them popping up. Yeah.
However, David and Katarina did an awesome job
Mm.
to put the pros and cons of these solutions next to each other, and
Yes.
how that shop and go solution is actually slightly more convenient because it has benefits for both the consumer and the seller.
Mm-hmm. I remember we talked about fraud too, actually, right?
Yeah.
So what was the rationale here, actually? Do you still remember?
That
Because I think I asked like a provocative question, like, can't you just kind of take the product and run out of the store? I mean, you can also do this in a normal store,
Yeah.
but there you have to pass a barrier.
No,
right?
they run algorithms to do to
Yeah.
like
And then do
there's
random
still
checks, actually.
there is still
They do random
personnel
checks.
in the shop, and that would the
Yeah.
system would give indications to random checks based on thresholds and percentiles, and they have other means to identify customers.
Interesting. All right. Community call on hyper-personalization with Lukas Bergström from Immersis and Sophie Oppacher.
We did plan this as a precursor to the show that we did 2 weeks after with Kelsey. We wanted to dip our toes into marketing and
Yeah.
an increasing trend, hyper-personalization. What do you remember? What is hyper-personalization?
Well, it means you go down to a segment of size 1, basically, right? So it's like on an
Exactly.
individual level, and you base marketing and all kind of decisions on each and every single user's
Yeah.
individual profile. Yeah.
That
Which requires speed, lots of data, customer data platforms, stuff like that. Yeah.
exactly. The challenge there is really to have the context available to be able to process the context and to make that segment of size 1 actually happen, because it's not like putting smaller segments, but you need to play out something. And that challenge and the way to get there, Sophie, I remember, did a great job explaining the experience or sharing the experience they made as a partner, helping customers, brands to actually get there, because it's not like you a turn on solution, but it's a process to think of and to go through.
Totally. Let's go to the next one. Future of customer engagement in June. We're in June, and it's like 27 minutes into the episode, by the way. Anyway, future of customer engagement with Kelsey from global head of product marketing at Immersis. I remember that. That was exciting. The takeaway from me is email is still king. It's
true.
I'm sorry, but email is still king. Like the most important thing you still need to be able to do is actually send properly emails. And that's amazing, right? With all the other cool stuff that they announced, actually, right? They were like, I think they announced features for Google and Apple wallets, right? So you can put something like loyalty cards into these digital wallets and stuff like that. Then I think there was something around push notifications via the Immersis platform. And all very, very cool features and new channels, I believe, like the WhatsApp channel what got announced. But in the end, when you compare the number, the size of these channels, everybody knows their email address.
Email is
So,
still king.
yeah.
Indeed, I had the same feeling. I never expected that, but it's once you start thinking about it, it's kind of obvious. And it's more on a technical note. It's a federated system, so this federation has benefits, and it's king. The entire perspective that Kelsey gave us was, as opposed to the episode before, she turned the perspective around. Like, what would Immersis do to make that hyper personalization happen, and how that customer engagement can be supported with Immersis and their products.
Yeah, very cool. Spatial computing with our dear friend Rolf, Chief Marketing Officer at Raum. That was the episode we had in Raum, right?
No, that was
that something else?
the Raum podcast to which we have been guest in.
Yeah. Okay. Didn't we also at some point? That was last year.
That was last year.
Oh my god. Okay, so last year we had an episode in Rome, right? But here we took it easy. You're right. I'm sorry for messing it up.
No, that's even longer ago. That
Yeah.
happened like March 2022
And I
already.
remember that he's such a good friend by now, actually, that we also have been on their podcast, right? The
Exactly.
Rolf and Sepp
That's
show,
what we did in
which we
3D.
repeated twice, by the way, because there were some technical difficulties the first time. So both of us spent like 3 hours with a VR headset on recording an episode, which is tough with
I got
with not
used
the
to it.
latest
Yeah.
VR equipment. Okay. Um,
Well, the idea was to have Rolf on the show and discuss the developments and the latest
yeah.
HR, AR, VR
And
equipment.
I mean, one thing that happened, right? Apple came out with the Vision Pro
Yeah,
headset. I mean, not they didn't come out with it. They at least announced it. It will still come out next year.
which triggered our
But
interest.
they coined the whole term spatial computing
Mhm.
because before we always talked about metaverse, we talked about AR, VR, XR, and
Virtual reality,
since then we talk about
cyberspace.
spatial
Yeah,
computing.
actually, I can't repeat that often enough. It's 30 years old technology,
Yeah.
but it got rebranded and got new terms every 10 years.
Yeah. So will it finally be ready for prime time? That is the big question, and that will also be maybe we can
We
take that.
discussed an entire episode. We still don't know.
Yeah. But we're going to focus on that next year, right? At
Mm.
least in the first quarter, we're going to have a focus on spatial computing and we're going to go really deep.
We'll have more by that time. Well, definitely Meta came up with a product already.
Mm.
By the time we're going to repeat our curiosity, hopefully Apple will be out with their product. We'll look into more aspects of spatial computing and how it will change customer
And we
experience.
will also tie it back to SAP, right? So what can you as an SAP customer or partner actually do with these technologies in the enterprise environment?
An excellent point.
Yeah.
Actually, that we also discussed in an episode, which I think is next, is it?
Yeah. Let's see if you're right.
No, it's not.
Almost.
Almost.
Your
There's one
predictions are a bit off today.
Anyway, off by one error.
Sorry, we changed the topic again. So we went from
Oh.
spatial computing into AI ethics. Why not?
We had the opportunity, I guess.
Yeah, so we had Saskia here actually in the room with us. I
Mhm.
remember that, so because she's also from Munich. And then also we talked to Clara Neppel, which is a dear friend of yours, I believe, right?
Mhm.
And Michael Sell from Saskia's team. And we just really discussed all these different areas of ethics when it comes to AI, like
Well,
what
to-
data, what implications there are, basically how
Mhm.
how these models could just maybe reinforce existing cliches.
Well,
Yeah, and
just
stuff
to
like that.
put that into a context, so Clara is not just a dear friend of mine. She's the director of AI ethics in IEEE Europe.
Mhm.
So she's an expert in her field. I just happen to know her.
Yeah,
Mhm.
fair. Very good, very good. No, but that was just amazing, right? And I think we tried to take a bit, I mean, take the hype off a little bit, right? And talk about some more serious things when
Yep.
it comes to AI in this case, right?
And
Because all these models get trained with
Mhm.
data that's somewhere on the internet, and I think that's the one thing I remember is basically that these models are as good as the data that's on the internet. And what do you find on the internet? It's
I remember
not always the
Saskia,
best stuff, yeah. So,
Saskia came up with I think it's 5 pillars. Oh my God.
mhm.
Not prepared to recap that one really. There's 5 pillars in SAP that SAP relies on
Yeah.
to classify AI use cases. And from Michael, I also remember that SAP has red lines that you cannot basically cross. You can't release an SAP product that would be
Yeah.
unethical. And Clara helped us a little bit understand the legislation around that, how European Union is is looking at the entire thing. By now, only this week, the AI Act was released or was finalized.
Mhm.
Maybe that's something we want to look into now that it's official legislation. The entire European
Mhm.
business will
That's
follow
a
these
good
guidelines.
idea actually
Yeah.
for next year for sure. Yeah.
And that is a good insight into the more regulatory insight and the ethical approach to AI use cases.
Yeah. Again, by the way, also a great example for a community call that has 3 guests basically. It's definitely way sometimes more challenging than setting up a normal call, actually, a
Ye-
normal episode. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun having
Yeah.
them on the same
Also
call.
great learning. Yeah. Sure.
Actually, the one limit we bumped into is once again audio gear.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
We'll work on it.
Yeah. All right. Quantum computing. We only had one guest, and that was Andre, I believe, right? Because Matthias was unfortunately sick.
Mm.
But we had lots of fun with Andre. Yeah. So
So,
we went deep on quantum
yeah,
computing,
we
right?
went
So
deep on quantum computing. Basically, after we spoke to Anish earlier that year, we both had that feeling that it didn't quite answer our questions. We want to learn more,
mm,
and we spent a lot of time. That's actually why those episodes are so far apart. Um we invested a lot of time to find Andre and Matthias, and they're researchers in SAP that spent their entire time researching quantum
yeah,
computing on behalf of SAP. So they're the literal SAP experts on that topic.
they were in the know.
I
Very cool.
learned from Andre how the physics in a quantum computer makes things happen in not only in parallel but also instantly. Do you remember that
No, I
part?
still have to scratch my head right now already. So
Yeah.
it's quantum is still cryptic for me, to be honest with you. But yeah,
We still need to summarize it in a digestible way. Like, maybe let's
maybe,
see.
maybe ChatGPT can help with summarization.
Second half of next year, we will see.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. Then yes, this is the episode I really remember with my two dear friends and colleagues from our own team, and they've been working on the so-called digital assistant for CX. I think it's called CX EI Toolkit by now. It was released at the CX Live this year. So Aria was on the call and also Utsavi, and we did an NFT drop in that episode,
We did an NFT
and that
drop in
was
every episode.
yeah, but we dropped we dropped NFTs and everybody got one. I mean, we didn't have any left. Let's put it that way. We did
Okay.
21
You
NFTs that
maxed
were
out on capacity.
fully
Okay.
claimed, right?
Okay.
Maxed out. And I was very thankful for that, actually. I'm wondering why, but maybe you just explained it in a super nice way or so. But the actual show, right, was all filled with AI use cases for CX. I
Mhm.
remember that, right? So we had great examples from Utsabi and Aria when it comes to, I think, sales service and also commerce, for example. Um, that was pretty cool.
I spotted a typo on that slide. Can you spot that? Somebody from the audience?
Oh, oh, oh.
If somebody can spot the
Ah.
typo, will leave us a comment. We'll give you an NFT for that. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
no, one thing just I noticed while we're talking about that, the time difference between the first time we spoke about Gen I and how far this
Mhm.
product came. We spoke to Daniel in February. This is
September.
August, September,
September.
September time frame.
Oh no, it doesn't need to be. Sorry, 09 doesn't mean September, right? It's
Exactly.
just
So
number 9.
it's
Exactly. Yeah.
sometime very much later. It's probably October. Nevertheless, it's like
Yeah.
9 months later. It's like 3 quarters later,
And there was a
and
product announced, right?
there's a product announced. It
Yeah.
changed name. It got rebranded, but it's a product, and it's something that is available in customer experience. And it came from research and hype to proper tangible use cases,
Mhm.
which I think is awesome.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
How fast Gen AI has taken the world, really. Yeah, taken over. All right. Yeah. Whoa. Different
The
design.
NFT special.
Whoa. The marketing talked to us that, by the way, we have a new branding and you should be using that. So we had some quality time in Figma, I remember,
Mhm.
and other tools. And then we had amazing guests, right? And this was really amazing because I think just before I've been at DMX Go, I met Lucas Vera, the founder of PoApp Studio, and it's one of these digital collectible systems ecosystems out there. that I just like a lot. And then Lucas is also very close to crypto, or at least to NFTs and digital collectibles. And he works at Immersis, right? We're still working together, and we're expanding that collaboration. And we discussed exciting use cases with NFTs. Yeah, and what you can do with that, basically, what maybe potential content and exclusive content you could unlock, and well, why it's cool. And we dropped, instead of using
Sure.
NFT management, our own solution, we actually did give Lucas the stage a little bit, and we dropped an NFT with PoApp because we're all about making the cake bigger. Yeah.
Lots of insights in that
Yeah,
show.
lots of insights and also lots of learnings that we, yeah, keep taking, of course. Thank you so much. It was cool.
Okay, awesome. We
Boom. Oh,
came back.
it's us.
I remember all of this in a different order. Nevertheless, this one was one show that I found super interesting to look under the hood of how we're doing things. Like
Hmm.
we talked about ethics and how it works and all that. But with Jeff, we spoke about how we at SAP make sure all of this works in a secure and private way,
Hmm.
and how we use generative AI in we spoke about that AI assistant or
Yeah.
AI toolkit as it's called nowadays, and Jeff explained us how they put safeguards around it so it SAP can make sure it doesn't
Yeah.
hallucinate, it doesn't mess up any PII
Yeah. And
information
but
or
still at the same time, how do you get your own company specific data into Gen
Mhm,
AI? And I think he explained to us the concept of vector databases
mhm,
and how you can search for the relevant content in vector databases and then take that content, put it into a Gen AI model, ask it for summarization or for
yep,
some output. But if there's, let's say, some personally in this, how is it called? This personal information, essentially, right?
personal
If that
identifiable information, PII.
personally identifiable information in that
Mhm,
content, they would masquerade it first,
yeah.
right? And then demasquerade it when they get it out of the model again, right?
Whereas
So
masquerading as such is not so easy because the LLM sometimes is too clever, and
yeah.
it would like you put in name one and name two, and it will answer the first one and the second one or something.
Mhm.
It would get the idea basically,
It's
and
interesting, yeah.
there's a lot of hurdles they're taking. I found it pretty fascinating how much effort work goes into those safeguards.
Yeah. Yeah, and Jeff Ajewski is a great person who can really explain all that, because he's one of the key engineers behind that solution from
Definitely
CX.
a must-see episode for those that are curious. If you want to
Yeah,
go back, that's definitely one of the highlights of the year.
I agree. Yeah,
Mhm.
really agree. All right, then we had a lovely session with Oliver Goodside again, right? We've talked to him a few times now already, and we discussed the news that came from Apple, actually, right? Vision Pro and Quest. Well, we had our own quality
Mhm.
time at Meta, actually. We were at the Meta housewarming party or office warming
Yes.
party, and we got to try out the
Uh-huh.
Quest 3. Right now, by the way, I also have a HTC Vive Elite at
Mhm.
home, which we can try out on Friday, and just to prep ourselves for next year. And of course, neither of us has actually tried out the Apple headset,
No,
Apple
no,
Vision Pro,
it's not out yet.
but Oliver is very close to that team.
Well, Oliver is the head of global experience technology, so he spends a lot of time thinking about how this virtual reality spatial computing technology can be used in a business
Yeah.
environment. And we spoke a lot about virtual screens, how collaboration would work differently,
Mhm.
and any of the benefits. What would you do in that 3D space? Have documents lie around and
Yeah, I remember we talked a lot how it would actually change
mm,
our work life,
mhm,
right? So I think we always pictured spatial computing in like these three buckets, like the consumer bucket, right? I remember that from the Rob and Seb show actually with Raum,
mhm,
the consumer bucket, and then there's more like the
mhm,
the pro bucket with like all these meetings, and then there's like an enterprise or a kind of B2B bucket where you kind of do service calls or service
mhm.
maintenance stuff, yeah. And he's a big fan of spatial computing will revolutionize the way we work, basically,
Mhm.
right? So it will touch a lot of people's life who spend their time in front of a normal laptop right now,
Yeah.
which is almost not almost everybody, but a lot of people.
Which
So
sounded pretty reasonable
yeah.
to me when we spoke to Oliver. There's a lot of thoughts that I can relate to,
Mhm.
that I can imagine happening within the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Another, um, well, just some bit of context in his role of global experience technology. We spoke to Oliver past year already, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have another conversation with Oliver next year sometime.
Totally. Yeah.
Because he's super fun guy to work with. He's running his newsletter. Maybe that's I.
Yeah.
You guys didn't see that, but I still wanted to mention that Oliver is running his own newsletter.
Inside of
It's
SAP.
astounding Oliver,
Yeah.
and Oliver sent a shout out to you and me. He sent out a newsletter where he mentioned how awesome this is and how much he's looking forward to the episode. And I felt really,
Yeah.
it gave me that warm and cozy feeling. It
It was
was
touchy to
awesome.
actually get some free marketing
Yeah.
once in a while, right? So
No, also the appraisal, and I've thank you, Oliver. Was good. Thank you.
yeah, nice. All right, cool. Then next episode, Gen AI at SAP. Wow. Yeah. So that was not so long ago, right? We didn't have Shuttle because he had some personal reasons to travel to India, but we had Walter, and he's the head of AI at SAP.
Which
And
we, I guess, both felt pretty honored to have.
yeah, yeah. And so how can you not say that's the highlight of the year, actually, right? Because I mean, Walter was also an amazing I mean, everybody that we had on Labs Talk
Yeah.
was amazing to talk to, but Walter is definitely one in a role, of course, a person in a role that is really able to make some deep decisions at SAP.
Mhm.
So getting his knowledge into SAP Labs Talk was cool.
I was
Yeah,
super nervous ahead of the show, and it turned out so good and so.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it was not just
I
by.
remember that we have really prepared a lot for that episode.
Yeah.
We thought, okay, there's my boss in that show, there's Walter's son, had a global head of
Mhm.
AI in that show. So let's not do a stupid mistake. And in the end, it was very. I mean, maybe because we prepped so much, but it was a very fluent and very positive episode, actually, right? And
Exactly.
we really discussed a lot of these CX AI use cases, the CX AI toolkit, of course, that was announced at CX Live, I believe, and also Joule, of course, right? Joule by
Also,
SAP,
Joule,
our assistant.
flagship
Yeah,
AI product.
very cool. All right, we are coming close to the end. Yeah, so now we have a couple of slides where we actually show you all the NFTs that you could have collected. To some degree, you still can collect them if you actually skip for the QR codes. Some of them might still work because we didn't close them down, but so these are all, it's all AI art basically, right? And we had some focus on robotics, I believe, at some point. Somehow we believe that's cool. Um, and these are kind of event style NFT drops, right? A single asset that was just available 30 times and you could get one. And then we also have a few different NFT drops. Like this one here, for example, right? That was with Walter Sun. And I also remember, for example, with this NFT drop where we had like individual assets
Mhm.
per collection, it just is way more fun, and people really wanted to collect these
Okay.
because then you can compare and you have a discussion afterwards about, for example, which one did you get? Yeah,
Okay.
and there was one example for such a generative drop, and then this here too, actually, right, with all these different people, robots,
I
unicorns.
like the duck and
The
the
duck, yeah.
unicorn.
I like the unicorn, to be honest with you. The unicorn is amazing. So anyway, you know, just eating our own dog food, right? This is all done with SAP NFT management. I think we've been the biggest contributor to NFT management and kind of to the biggest demo partner, more or less. We dropped a lot of NFTs, and we're working on next year, of course, right? And where we
Yeah.
take that, and where we want to take that is clearly into the world of utilities. So like, what can you actually do with that? right? So right now you're collected, like right now you engage, and we might tie it to a different SAP CX product, like Immersis, for example, for
Yes.
marketing. So this is important for big brands and
We
companies out there. But
started discussing very high-level use cases for Sales Cloud as well,
yeah,
to qualify leads, who is interested in a particular product, who's interested in a particular brand, who collected NFTs for
yeah,
multiple events, and that can contribute to qualification, but also give out NFTs as an incentive to, say, super engaged sales colleagues or sales managers.
yeah. So next year it's gonna be our job actually, right? So whenever we have an interview, we have a real episode, we will need to after the live stream record a few minutes extra, because we need some exclusive content, and that exclusive content, that might be something like a bit more personal questions or some other style of questions, will only be accessible if you can present that NFT. So you will need to log in, and then you can access a bit of special content
I'll guess
next year.
those
It's again
collecting
another experiment.
those NFTs will those that get access will learn about tech sauna.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty convinced about that. It's worth collecting the NFTs, and it's worth the content. Really.
Yeah, you can participate in raffles and so on. And that's actually maybe I think that was the last slide, right? Yeah. Let's quickly stop that here and put us full screen again. And I hope you remember that we wanted to end the episode actually with a video, right? Because we've done more dog fooding at SAP than just these NFTs, right? So is there a beer somewhere? No, there's no beer.
No,
We
there's
have
no
our
beer.
own beer, right? In collaboration with Metabrew Society at SAP Labs Munich. And these beer cans also feature QR codes that actually link back to NFT management. And this is all something that happened around the Beyond Fear community.
Yeah, there is Labs Talk, of course, is a community, but we have that SAP internal community. And the video that you are going to show now, I guess, is the one I've seen before. It's a big shout out to the SAP community.
So maybe the video, it's an employee-led initiative, and it's kind of meant to be SAP internal initially. And then we talk to the people involved in these videos, and we talk to those having kids, especially those being half naked, those being whatever somewhat exposed in that video, and everybody agreed, okay, let's actually make that public, because it's a great showcase of how we run internally, how much fun we have, and how we collaborate together. And Ritu was actually one of the main proposers to putting this out on LinkedIn. So now it's public, and we thought we could actually just take that video and show you what we sometimes do in Munich and elsewhere at SAP, to just kind of give you a glimpse behind the scenes.
And I think it's also a bit of a tribute to the community, because many of the discussions that we're having in front of the camera are sourcing from discussions that we have behind the camera and as part of that community. And I guess this would be a lot more boring if we wouldn't have those guys around. So thank you, everybody, for being so great, really. Also for everybody on the show, for everybody in front and behind the camera.
Okay, I would say we wrap it up with that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Funny video coming. Enjoy. After that, we go offline, or we might come back for 1 second just to go offline. Enjoy.
Thank you, everybody.
See you next year. See you next year.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.
better understand how our target group works. Yeah, because we have the target group in the boat. We can ask them almost real time.
Bigger event, which was way more interesting for us because the surrounding people who were involved was NFC Lisbon. This one was really amazing, so everyone who wants to
But is there maybe another benefit other than it's nice for crypto?
Yeah, I mean, Johannes can also comment, but from my perspective, it's really the fact that it's not stored on our systems. And
our guys in the fulfillment area where they really pre-pack also before we actually know that there are many orders coming in. So